Hi again then guys, and welcome to another installment of the News Roundup, especially pertaining once again to probably the most highly anticipated game currently for many of us, Gran Turismo 7. So, first of all we have the Executive Vice President of PlayStation, Simon Rutter, who said some interesting things about Gran Turismo 7 and the PS5, and how the PS5 will allow the game to be played, including the fact that loading times will be next to nothing, according to him. That's going to be a pretty apparent advantage of the console. It's not the kind of thing that you need to wait around to see. It's going to be apparent very quickly. As soon as you boot up the game, you'll be able to see those kind of loading screens, and sometimes the loading screens in, for instance, GT Sport can take quite a while. So it's a small thing, but still a very cool one, and of course, the processing speed of the console applies to a lot more than just loading screens, but it's an easy way of being able to see the difference. Next up though, he mentioned another interesting thing, and a lot of these pointers should definitely be taken with a hint of salt, a pinch of salt, a grain of salt, if you will, whatever you want to call it, because people can be misquoted, people can just say something as an example or an illustration and not necessarily mean it as fact, and that could be the case here, because he mentioned that the 3D style audio in the game, which will allow you primarily to hear cars behind you, to the side of you, in front of you in very clear ways, putting you into the action if you will allow you, to quote him, to tell the difference between a Ferrari and a Maserati sound within a race. That's a curious statement, because of course Ferrari has been in Gran Turismo for a while, Maserati has with the Gran Turismo, but Maserati often, and in fact at one point exclusively, used Ferrari engines. Recently though, they don't, they build their own. So the fact that he said you can tell a difference between a Ferrari and a Maserati could mean that it is newer Maseratis in question. Since, for example, my Maserati, the Quattroporte, sounds very similar to an F430, because that's the Ferrari that it got its engine from. So for this to show a difference, or to let you hear a difference between a Maserati and a Ferrari, if he means that literally, of course, which is not set in stone, that could be interesting as far as what Maseratis may be in the game. He also mentioned something interesting regarding the feedback of the controller, and to quote him, he said, "You'll have a different feeling in your hands from the smooth undulating tarmac of a racetrack compared to the gritty sensation on a gravel track." That's interesting, because of course, that means that Rally, once again, if he means that literally, will still, it seems, be a part of Gran Turismo in GT7. That's not necessarily a surprise. Many of us would probably assume that it would be carried over from GT Sport, along with probably many, if not most, of those Group B machines, but it is nice to get that mentioned again, because of course that wasn't, strictly speaking, in the announcement trailer. And again, I'm fully expecting us to have more trailers, in which we'll probably see some of that stuff anyway. But overall, that's it for this roundup. Of course, stick around on the channel to keep up with all the latest news and leaks and all that kind of good stuff. Of course, in particular when it comes to Gran Turismo, but also the broader driving and motorsport world as well. And of course, if you haven't already watched some of my other coverage videos of GT7, including predictions, breaking down what we've already seen from the trailers, some of the cars in there that you might have missed, including a vintage Alfa Romeo, then click the playlist here on screen, where I've actually listed all of my Gran Turismo 7 content so far. But overall, that's it for this installment. I'll see you next time, and for now, as always, thanks for watching.